Hi, this is Dandan at DG Recruit. People are always thinking that there are so many different clever ways that you can renovate and innovate recruitment. And at the end of the day, a consolation prize for all the recruiters out there who are gonna get into this career and develop within it. Good news. There is no way you are going to get rid of our jobs. I do not care what kind of platform you're building, what you're looking to do. Nothing is going to replace a human being headhunting a candidate out of their seat to go for another job. There's no system, process, business, anything that can possibly replace the full capacity of what a top headhunter in your field can do for you. And again, I'm speaking about candidate-driven markets where these candidates are in high demand. I'm not talking about situations like what I used to do, like hospitality, for instance. Very much those jobs are not as complicated and they're more like gig jobs. They're not as career-driven as perhaps some of the other jobs that headhunters specifically survive in. Right? There's only certain markets that headhunters serve, and these are the ones I'm talking about. So again, if you're in a career and if you're a proper headhunter who's servicing actual careers, then you have nothing to worry about. And here's my case for why AI isn't going to change really that much. The reason why AI can't really change recruiting starts off with the number one fact is that there's only so many ways that you can judge someone based on their profile. Right? Just because they have a certain profile doesn't actually mean anything, for instance, because you have to get to the call and you have to speak to that profile to judge whether or not, number one, they want to stay in their career vertical, number two, where they're at in their life. And a lot of times this is not an exact science. Right? Just because someone has a certain title doesn't mean that they're actually qualified or that they're a brilliant candidate. You still need to sift through them pretty much very manually to have those conversations with them. And you really can't, number two, you can't really rely on a technological product to really do that for you. Again, we're talking about really niche roles that are really hard to sort through and that are highly crucial jobs. Companies are, first of all, not hurting for money. Today, the problem isn't having enough money. Everybody, all these top businesses have more money than we could possibly imagine. They can literally burn money, right? So the problem isn't cost. So AI only really helps in a scenario where it's like, wow, we really need to reduce costs as the number one focus. But if you think about the recruitment markets in which headhunters enact and are alive in, they're not hurting for money. So number one, you're not solving an actual problem that the hiring manager has because they're not in a situation where they're hurting for money. Therefore, you trying to use AI to solve that pain point, it's pointless because I could just pay for a recruiter to do the whole thing and actually do it in a very manual way that will be able to convey our message, our client, me as a client is going to be able, I can afford the service. So that's the first mistake that I think a lot of AI businesses think is like somehow we're going to save companies money. Sure, companies don't mind saving money, but at the same time, saving money isn't the be all end all. We all know good talent costs a lot of money to acquire. So this is a fundamental kind of clash between AI and recruitment that, again, for the niche markets that recruiters should be living in, should not be a problem. This brings me to a different point, which is if you're a headhunter, an agency recruiter, who happens to focus on low value markets, you best bet that there is some sort of technology replacer or something coming after you, because the lower level markets that aren't that difficult in terms of candidate flow, if there isn't a significant amount of jobs overflowing versus candidate quantity, aka a candidate-driven market, if you're in a recruitment market that is not driven by candidate need, then you as a headhunter are in big trouble. Your job is at stake. You need to, first of all, find a candidate-dry market. That's the first thing to do, is make sure you're focused on a candidate-dry market segment. Back to sort of the AI topic. Another problem with AI is that there's very limited functionality, right? Again, it just doesn't have the capacity to interview someone the way you would. And it doesn't have the sort of BS meter, right? There's definitely ways to go around algorithms, to go around technology. there isn't much of a way to go around a super savvy interviewer. And that's the thing with AI. It doesn't have the capacity to really tie in together all the multifaceted components that go into candidates making a career decision. For instance, location to begin with. How can an AI machine figure out if a person is actually dedicated to living in New York or not? They don't have that ability to have a BS meter, whereas experienced recruiters can do that. Again, for companies that aren't looking to save money, they're looking for the right hire that they're willing to pay top dollar for and that they have the money to pay for. They'd rather get it right than waste their time, which actually leads to more cost, right? So they're really very much more motivated to work with smart recruiters who really are worth their weight in gold. What does this mean for recruitment professionals? Just like how LinkedIn helps us make lots of money and helps us make lots of money, so will AI. AI is just going to help the top billers make even more money than they have. Maybe it might even replace certain segments of the virtual assistant pool. Again, if you're functioning in careers or jobs that are easily functionable, this is my economics passion showing through. In markets where there's an oversupply and an easy substitute, as in this job is so simple, there are very low barriers to entry, such as virtual assistants, anything that's very easily replaced is going to be at risk in the continued success of technology advancements and AI. Anybody who's in a career that's easily replaceable with a system and a technology, better watch out. Like, your job is limited, right? This is why you're seeing truckers, you're seeing people that can be replaced by machines. I mean, this is just going to keep happening because technology is the culprit. It's not outsourcing, it's technology. Technology is just going to keep developing. So in order to stay alive and stay with it, we have to constantly evolve as professionals ourselves and make sure that we're alive and well in industries that need us and can benefit us in the long term. Going back to agency recruitment, this is why this career will be forever insulated, as long as you know how to recruit and as long as you know how to sell. Because if you have this unique capability to sell and connect with people and get them to do crazy things like leave a totally good job and go to another one for an incremental amount of money, then you've solved recruiting. You understand how recruiting works. If you have this unique skill set, be aware not everyone has this skill set and you should treasure it. So get in touch with me. My team and I would love to talk to all recruiters who recognize that they have this talent and are in it for the long haul, because we are working with the best and very fast growing agencies that could benefit from knowing top go-getters like yourself. Get in touch. Always happy to hear what other people's recruitment experience have been like and make a new friend in our industry.